Welcome!
Hello everyone!
This is episode 1. This is the first podcast.
Oh my gosh, how are you feeling about it, Beth?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. It's new, it's change, it's a step, but I like it. How are you feeling?
I'm excited, but I'm also very nervous just because, we don't speak about this. So it will be interesting, I think, to see how we actually feel throughout this whole journey, I guess. But
I feel like we're recording our conversations that we have.
That's very true. That's all we have to think about.
It's real, and this is what we talk about. The only difference is we have microphones now. So.
That is very true, very true.
Yeah. So this is our first episode, and we are covering diagnosis. So it does what it says on the tin, really. Just what happened when we were told we had cancer. The context, a bit about us, how we felt. We've got some Q&As as well, so we can cover that at the end if we haven't talked about them already. So we'll share our stories. They're different to each other, and by all means they don't represent everyone, but then you'll know a bit about us, our background, and why we're here.
Yes, exactly. And the whole point of us doing this as a first episode is because we just want to give an insight. I think this will be good for us as well, because this all happened so quickly for us that I don't think we had a chance to actually process our thoughts and how we felt at the time.
Yeah.
So I think that this will benefit us as well as being insightful for anybody who's interested. It just gives an insight of, what it's actually like to be a cancer patient.
Yeah, and here we are. So, should we get cracking?
We shall. So the way that this podcast is going to work is we're going to do 2 separate stories. First, you will hear Beth's story, how she... Shout out to Beth!
I had to put that in there.
That's fine, that's absolutely right. Yeah, so you'll hear Beth's side of the story first. You'll hear about her life before, symptoms, diagnosis, and then the same will goes for me. So, yes, 2 very simple... Not simple, 2 very different stories in one episode. So
yeah,
let's do this.
Right, over to me. Okay. So where do we begin? We'll go from the start. I was diagnosed with Hodgkins Lymphoma, stage 2A, in January 2015. So I was 17 years old. I was in my second year of sixth form, so doing my A-levels. Yeah, and before I was diagnosed, I just did my Monday to Fridays at school. Didn't really have a wise head on me. I was just being 16, 17, like you would. Nothing wrong with me, but just doing my thing. Going to school. My biggest stress was my A-levels, not doing enough work. Oh, I should be doing more. I've got a test Monday, need to do my homework. Saturday, Sunday, going out, go to parties, socialise with my friends, do it all again Monday. So that was it, that was the norm. I didn't think about anything beyond that. So cancer was a real hard hit because I didn't think about life. I didn't think about life after school. I barely thought about uni. I just knew it was looming. I just had no idea about the realities and adult things. Not that cancer is an adult thing as such, but it's a serious thing that a 16 or 17 year old might not address.
It's only sort of the things that at your age at the time you'd assume you can relate to in books. Not even relate, but you just know of that word from books and films, and
you hear of it, but it's so distant and you don't think twice about it really because it doesn't affect you, and it's never affected anyone in my family that's been close to me, so I didn't really realise the reality of it. I was really active, sporty and musical, so I play netball competitively in a league at least twice a week, sing as well, just busy with all these kind of extracurricular.
What position did you play in netball?
Wing attack.
Oh, okay then.
I know, but because I'm tall, I'd always be shoved in defence when we were losing.
To be fair, you would make a really good defence player, I think. You are tall. So yeah, I can understand that, but nice.
So a bit of everything really, just anything but centre. I wasn't fit then, so let alone when I was ill, but yeah, so I was balancing lots of extracurricular and being very social, and my mentality was really, got school until 3:30, then after that, go to netball, might do a bit of music, a bit of singing. That's it, really. So what happened was in the November before, I think I was getting changed one day, and my hand brushed against my neck, and I felt something that I hadn't felt before. Didn't know what it was, didn't know what I had felt, but I just knew my body. And I feel like, to listeners out there, you just know. I think sometimes you know yourself better than other people do. Mm-hmm. I just felt, this hit me more than anything else has. I feel like just feeling that, I knew something didn't add up. Whereas if I had a cold, I'd take that so lightly. But again, I did think it was a simple explanation. I told my mum and just said, like, I was getting changed and I felt this on my neck. Can you feel it? Like, maybe I'm going mad and you can't feel it and I can. And, you know, I'm just an oblivious 17-year-old. Or just turned 17 too. And she said, oh, it'll be fine. And she asked my auntie, so her sister, who is a nurse, and she said that there's been a history of kind of cysts in the family, and so-and-so's had one cut out of their head and one out of their neck and all of this, and I thought, oh, a lumpy family.
Even if you had that, you would think, oh no, like, please don't tell me it's a cyst, please don't tell me I have to have an operation for that. That's scary as it is.
I thought, like, what happens and how is it going to come out of me?
Oh wow, yeah, like, what even is a cyst? It's like a big ball and...
I didn't even want to hear about it. I was like, oh no, I can't have blood tests and, like, injections. I couldn't even have them. I couldn't swallow tablets whole. Like, I'd have to have, like, the child liquid or, like, crush it, and I was a nightmare. And so then I worried, oh god, a cyst. Like, they talked about getting it drained, and I thought, oh my god, absolutely not. I'd rather have a lumpy neck. Like, just no. And I'm sure it's simpler than that, but that was my worst case scenario. I thought, oh gosh, something's dodgy here, you know. So I had, one lump in my neck, and the best way I can describe it, it was like a ping pong ball.
It wasn't...
It was big.
Was it noticeable?
Yeah. But it didn't look like a lump. My neck just went out.
Oh, okay.
It didn't, like, go in. It just went out. And it did look like there was something there, but it wasn't painful. It was like a plastic ball that was inside me almost. So it freaked me out, and I wanted it out of me, but... I was a wuss, really, so I didn't want it out of me. Yeah, so...
I bet you do now.
Well, exactly. That was the start. So we went to the doctors. I went really kind of obliviously and just rocked up and was like, get this cyst out of me in the least painful way. And she laid me down and she did searches all over my body. And when she did that, I thought, okay, is this procedure or what? She laid me down. I didn't know what she was searching for, but now I know that she was feeling my lymph nodes, which was in my armpit, my neck, my groin. And she kept feeling as if she'd found something, felt again, stopped, felt again. And I was laying there thinking, I want to know, but I also don't want to know.
So by that time, did you know something serious was going on, or did you just turn a blind eye and think, okay, yeah, this is what happened, it's going to be something stupid?
Well, I was aware, I was in tune. All of a sudden it was like I had a meerkat moment and just kind of peered up and was like, what's going on? And she said to me, right, I've booked an appointment for you for 9 a.m. tomorrow morning at the local hospital. And I thought, okay, but then I thought she might have found something but doesn't know what it is, so I might need scans and things. She doesn't necessarily know, which I think was the case. I think she had her suspicions that it was Hodgkins lymphoma, but you can't really tell unless you have your tests. So throughout end of November and all the way through to December, on Christmas Eve, between Christmas and New Year as well, I had blood tests, didn't really come up on blood tests, chest x-rays, MRIs, PET scans, everything. But it was like they were looking for something and knew what it was, but they needed the affirmation.
Yeah.
So I had lots and lots of things.
At that point, did that worry you when they kept referring you to different scans and, you know, because they would have solved it straight away if it was something that simple?
Yeah, well, I remember it was in between Christmas and New Year, and all my friends were meeting at one of the friends that was in the group's house in London, and it was an all-day thing, going to Christmas markets, eating Christmas food, watching films, and I had my tests, more scans that day, and could only come after, which was about dinner time, like after 5. And I remember being gutted, but I also couldn't say anything because I didn't want to alarm anyone like it was a serious thing, because I had nothing to say what it was.
Yeah, and I guess in a way you don't want to admit it to yourself that actually this could be something serious.
No, and I still had no idea, and even if I did know, I'd be in denial. So I remember I was so late and I turned up and I felt completely not myself. I felt preoccupied. And now when I look at photos, I just looked so ill. I was pale. I was skinny, but in a way that I was like gaunt, like no life in me. And I remember that day a lot because I felt like my mind was elsewhere. And for the first time, I started to think properly. Not think about school, not think about A-levels, friends, what's going on this weekend, but think about the future, what might happen and what might not happen.
In your mind then, did you think cancer?
Absolutely not.
You didn't?
Absolutely not. I went back for tests and they said because it's the Christmas period, you'll get the results back in January. So all over the new year, I didn't know a thing. But I still didn't worry. I thought I'll get antibiotics. Also, when you get a cold, your lymph nodes swell up.
Exactly, yeah.
So I thought
it could be so many things, yeah.
And then they told me what they're looking for on the scans is TB, tuberculosis, to come up. So they said, we think it's TB. The options were TB, a cold, so your lymph nodes are swollen, or a rare type of infection. And even then I thought, well, that'll be solved by antibiotics.
Yeah,
so I wasn't that worried. And TB isn't ideal, but it doesn't kill like nowadays as such, you know, compared to what it used to.
It's not kind of like the end of the world kind of thing if you...
No.
Obviously it's not ideal, but...
And I remember my friends, they told me the chance of getting TB are increased if someone near you that you've interacted with has TB or glandular fever. And I remember my friend having glandular fever.
Oh, okay.
So I thought, okay, well, I've got that.
All
so
these possibilities in your head.
Yeah, obviously TB would have been scary, but I didn't worry because there's not stigma. I don't think of much when someone says TB compared to cancer.
Yeah.
Cancer's massive.
That's
cancer
the
charities.
deadly word, yeah.
Cancer, people can die from cancer. There's stand up to cancer. There's so much recognition and so much around that word in itself.
Yeah. So regarding the whole symptom situation, you say you have the lump. Was there any other signs that led towards this cancer diagnosis, or did you feel completely fine in yourself?
Yeah, I felt completely fine. I believe I was at my fittest. As I said, doing sport, music, I was at my busiest. When I went to the doctors, they listed all the symptoms and I said no to all of them, to all of the Hodgkins lymphoma ones. The only thing I had was the lump. So they said night sweats. I said no. They said lack of energy. Absolutely not. I'm juggling more than I ever have. Rapid weight loss. I laughed and said, yeah, I wish. and everything else, I thought absolutely not. So we can scrub that one out. That's not happening. So I wasn't worried because it didn't add up. I didn't say things and it completely correlated. So I didn't worry. But yeah, when New Year came, they had their suspicions. I had a biopsy and that was terrifying.
So what is a biopsy? Is that...
Well, their biopsy, they had to take a sample out of the lump to know exactly what it is. So rather than doing scans and kind of assuming, that would completely decide and show what it is.
Yeah.
So that happened. I was terrified. As I said before, I couldn't have injections and blood tests. I would work myself up over a blood test. So this was an operation under like local anaesthetic. Or was it general? I can't remember. But I didn't want to remember. I just wanted to switch off. And I remember telling my mum.
If you put asleep, I think it was general. Yeah.
He asked me about like what I'm doing at school, and I knew I was going, so I was speaking like, I'm at school, I'm at A-level, I need to tell you. And he was like, it's fine, we're going to go. And I was like, no, but I haven't finished my sentence.
Do you not think, though, that was the best sleep you've ever had?
Oh, yeah.
I completely agree. Like, I've had so many, and I'm just like, oh, I loved it. I absolutely love being put to sleep, which I know is bizarre, but...
It was a great moment. I remember being like... Amazing. And then one time
Good night.
Yeah, so... But I remember being terrified. I remember telling my mum, like, you have to be there when I wake up. Like, I've got my glasses on. When I take my glasses off, I'm not going to be able to see. So you need to be there with my glasses. And I woke up and she wasn't there. And I freaked out. I couldn't see a thing because my glasses weren't there. And, like, the nurses were passing and someone was wailing out, like, help me, help me. And I just thought, oh, my God, get me out of here.
Yeah.
Like, let me just rip off this gown and walk out. And I looked down and saw a plug, like a drainage thing, and I was
no.
But that frightened me. That frightened me a lot, and I was really worried. My mum came and they sent her home, so that's why she wasn't there. Because I think I slept for too long. So,
That's not a bad thing, you know. You gotta get your rest.
Well, yeah. So yeah, that was scary, but that was the start, and that's when I started to harden up, and I had to face these kind of trials and tribulations and get used to it, and it changed my mentality completely. I had to act fast and sort myself out. I wasn't a different kind of... I wasn't a not good 17-year-old. But yeah, I just had to grow up.
Yeah, of course.
I was fine as a 17-year-old, but I had to be a 17-year-old that's undertaking chemo, that's doing my own, that's doing everything. So I did have to change. So that was scary. And then when we got a phone call saying, we've got the results, can you come into hospital?
Oh.
And so me, my mum and my dad went down to the hospital, and they said, go to this room. And to get to that room, we had to go through the oncology ward.
Okay, so what was going through your mind at that time?
I was scared. I walked into oncology, opened these double doors, and I remember now there's like a ring where people sit all around, and it was all just like elderly, frail, ill, lifeless people with no hair, no ability to move, wires and tubes and everything, and I just thought, this is not me. Like, they must have just done this room because this is the only available room.
Yeah, like, why am I here?
Yeah, and I even thought, even if it is this, they wouldn't have, like, told me to go to the room in the oncology unit. Like, that's just too scary. That's too daunting, like, to go straight in there. And I walked in, went into the room, the door opened, the doctor was there, and then the nurse that has to support and kind of witness and help. And I sat down, and my parents were opposite, and I just was silent, and I waited for him to just tell me, like, it's fine. And he just kind of looked down and was like, and I just thought, you're not supposed to do this.
Yeah.
Like, what? And he said, I can't even remember, because I remember thinking, I don't care about all these extra words, just tell me, that's all I'm going to focus on. Whatever you say, I'm going to fixate around that. And he was just silent and said, it's Hodgkins lymphoma. And I was like, That was kind of what I felt like. Like, that doesn't sound too bad, but what's this?
Yeah.
And then he looked at the nurse and was like, it's cancer. And then I was like, what? Hang on, I didn't prepare for this. I just, a minute ago, just thought, or a second ago, just thought it's completely fine. And now we've backtracked? What? Hodgkin's lymphoma, you sure? I've never heard of that. I thought it would have been like the cancers that I know, that breast cancer or ovarian or leukemia, they're the ones you hear of. What the hell is lymphoma? And he looked so sheepish, so apologetic. And I think it's because they didn't really think it was going to be that.
Yeah, I guess as well, your age, they don't... It's not every day they probably get to tell a 17-year-old you've got cancer as well.
Exactly. And I, for a minute, felt like an animal. I couldn't control myself. I wailed. I didn't cry. I absolutely wailed. There was just a sound that came out of me that I didn't know existed. It was like I was looking at myself and all my bones had been broken. Like, I couldn't sit on the chair anymore. I was like flopped over, and I couldn't even get the expression out of me. Like, it's like my throat just blocked. And there was so much in me that needed to come out, and it just came out in sound like I was an animal in the wild. And I just broke down, and I looked over to my parents, and it was a blur, and I just felt like, I need to get out of here. Like, what the hell do I do? And if anyone has had a panic attack, it was kind of like that, in terms of, I can't do this. Oh my God, what's happening? It's just getting worse. It's getting worse. I'm boiling. Oh my God. Do I leave the room? I can't leave the room. I can't move. How do I express myself? And the point where I was in my eyeballs, in emotion, in fury, and it was like a boiling pot with just smoke and steam and bubbles and everything. I looked over to my parents, and they were howling too. And that was just anyone's worst nightmare. And it was like they were weak too, and I've never seen either of them express themselves really at all compared to, so in comparison this was just mind-blowing. And I remember sitting in that room and the first thing that I wailed was my A-levels.
Oh, that's alright, I've got cancer. Never mind.
No.
My life. No, my A-levels.
I know. And the doctor was like, he was like, don't be silly, like, that doesn't matter, your health comes first, priorities now. And I looked at him and was like, I have not come this far. I have broken my back. And now in the January of the exams are in the May, in the final 5 months for it all to cave in and to go to nothing, I was like, I am not letting that happen. No. And the fact that he was like, just scrap it, like everyone said that, I was like, no way, like it's fine for you to say, that's what I just kept thinking, it's fine for you to say, but when it comes down to it, everyone will do their exams in May, I'll be sitting in my bed, and when it comes to September, I've got to retake it, like it won't go away, and I'll see everyone go to uni. You'll be in a new year that you don't know, well, not that you may know some people, but it's completely different people. It will never go away. I'll be left with that personal regret, what if I could have done better, I could have tried harder. But that's not for everyone. Like, looking back, I pushed myself to the hardest extreme, and I don't think everyone could have done it. So I'm not saying if you take a year out it's wrong and it's weak and it's avoiding it, it's completely not. You've just got to listen to yourself. But I was in such a mindset where I thought, I had a goal before this, so how dare something like this stop me? I can't have it happen. Because even if I knew, what made me carry on is that I knew if I did fight cancer and I did succeed, I'm still not going to be happy because it affected my life. I had to take time away. Whereas if I tried and hopefully succeeded at cancer, like beating it, and I still did my exams, then there was nothing lost. But I know I could have taken a different route and I could have eased myself the stress, the agony, the sleepless nights and pushing myself, because exams alone are stressful, let alone fighting cancer at the same time. But before I started treatment, I again, this reflects the mindset, I had a geography trip with the school to Iceland for 5 days, and I said, well, I'm going on the trip, so that's what I wanted to do. Amazing. But I remember that mindset, I felt so lost, and he said, well, if it's what you want to do and that's your priority, then do it. So obviously they allowed you to do it, but what was their recommendations? Well, they said, obviously we want you to start chemo straight away, but it won't hinder you if you start in 5 days' time, like as soon as you get back. Yeah, is that because you caught it so early? I mean, if you was a stage, what's the stage? I was stage 2A, they named it. 2 because that's how advanced it was, so stage 1 is the earliest, stage 4 is the most advanced. And then the 2A, the A was the symptoms that I had. So I think there's A symptoms and B symptoms. Oh, okay, right. So I had the lump, which was under A, and B was other things. I think if I had more symptoms and the different ones, it might be stage 2B. And I had Hodgkins lymphoma rather than non-Hodgkins. So what is Hodgkins lymphoma? Because I know it's a blood cancer, but it's completely different to what I had. So yeah, so Hodgkins lymphoma, I did a lot of research in the day, but I feel like I erased it after, because I just thought I don't need this circulating in my head, so I'm probably a bit rusty. But it's like leukemia, it's a blood cancer, but it's in the lymphatic system, so within your lymph nodes. Okay. So yeah, it's in that system, and you get the swollen effect, the lump, because the cancer cells mutate and they kind of take over the good cells as such. Right. Okay. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, so I remember I went on my trip to Iceland and they said, it's okay, we'll postpone the treatment for 5 days. Oh crap. Can you pause it? Yeah. There we go. I forgot to delete that, like an idiot. That's cool. Is there any more? Just carry on. Right. So I went on my trip and they said it'd be fine to postpone the chemo for 5 days. And that's what I wanted to do. I just thought, this might be my last trip, and I was really excited, and I also
Iceland
don't want
as
to
well.
say no. Yeah, and if I said no, it's real. It's why? Why is it a no?
It's automatic. You're automatically letting it stop you do the things you love, because that will eventually happen. But yeah, straight away. No.
I
And
wanted
if you
to
have the
hold on.
ability to do it, where some people don't, some people are that sick to not be able to do it. I mean, go for it. And Iceland, no one gets that opportunity. Like, you know, it's not round the corner every day.
Yeah, it was quite cool. Yeah, being 17, going to Iceland, I was like, yeah, go on then.
Did you see any
I'll
whales?
take it. No, I don't think we did. And we looked up. We tried to see the Northern Lights as well, but it ended up covering with clouds, and it was a snow.
Oh,
it was
no.
not a sandstorm, a snowstorm.
Sandstorm.
Sandstorm. Oh my god, confusing that one another time. But yeah, it was amazing. But yeah, so I went on that trip to Iceland, and I just thought, oh god. I remember sitting on that plane, and my friends were next to me, and I'm in my head thinking, I have cancer in my body right now.
Yeah, that must have been a horrible feeling.
Yeah, it was a horrible feeling. So maybe that trip was negative in a sense because I was carrying it on my shoulders. It was only me and my parents that knew right now. And I went away and it was me on my own knowing. And it was like I'm a world away in Iceland. And I remember just being in a trance like, I've got cancer. I've got cancer.
With you going on this trip, did it actually, in a way, help you forget that you were in that situation in the moment, or did it actually make it worse that you were going through this and you knew you were going through it, but you had no one to really talk to about?
I think it was a sense of escapism, definitely. Yeah. And I had in my mind, Beth, you've got to make the most of this. I might, sometimes you go on a trip and say, I might never see this again. I might not choose to go to Iceland again. But this was, I might never live again. I might never walk again, let alone choose to go to Iceland. But it was horrible in the sense of, I feel like I've just been given this weight of news and then I'm expected to go on holiday.
And enjoy yourself, yeah.
Yeah, and no one knows. And like, I'd be distracted sometimes. I'd be in a trance and think, oh my God, what am I doing? What is ahead? But I felt like I couldn't express it yet and I didn't want to. I'm sure I could have to my friends, but it's
difficult. You don't know how they're going to react, and you don't even know how to react yourself. Yeah.
I needed to digest it, otherwise as soon as it came out of my mouth I would have just started howling again. And so I went on this trip and I was distracted, and it came to a point where we had to walk on glaciers, you know, hiking and mountaineering and things like that, and Iceland's beautiful and lovely for that, so I recommend it if you're thinking of going.
I would absolutely love to go one day.
Cheeky plug. But yeah, it is so beautiful. But I knew it was going to be demanding physically. And then I thought, how much can I actually do? So I went to my teacher. I told her and just said, oh, by the way, you know, I have a bit of medical, you know, complications. And I think she was expecting me to give her my asthma pump. Yeah. And I just said, like, can I pull you aside for 1 sec? Like, I just need to explain why I might not be able to climb to the highest mountain. And I said to her, and I got on really well with my geography teacher. Like, she was nice enough to me. She was just nice. So I felt like I could, and it was right to as well. Otherwise, if I would have challenged myself, it would have been the wrong thing.
You wouldn't have known what would have happened to you either. You could have got worse in yourself and your body.
Yeah, I could have suffered for those 5 extra days of not taking chemo. So I told her and she broke down in my arms. And I, at that point, just thought, whoa, like, I've only been told this myself.
Yeah.
I know you're devastated, but I am so raw. Like, I was just there like, okay, miss. Like, just there. And,
stroke the cat.
Yeah, and I was just shocked. And she said, like, oh, it's like one of my children has just got cancer. And I just thought, oh, that's lovely. But I, at that point, was so overwhelmed anyway. I just thought, oh God, like, I just don't know what I'm doing. I need someone to, like, hold my hand and be my
guidance,
guide and mentor and help me, because I'm so alone in this. And that's how I felt. And she was so upset, and she discreetly told the other teachers, and they were so like, if you don't want to, it's fine, like, the whole trip, which was really nice. But I was also like, it's fine, like, I will go to breakfast, like, like, we can get it for you, like, if you're too ill. And I just thought, oh God, it's starting.
Yeah, so did you feel that stigma straight away, as soon as all the teachers found out that stigma, that was your first experience with having the stigma with being a cancer patient? Well,
I just felt like that was it. There was no going back.
Yeah.
It's out there now. It's actually happening. As long as it's in my head and it's not coming out of my mouth, it's not real.
Yeah.
I'm not being treated any different. I'm still Beth. I'm still treated the same. But as soon as I'm treated differently, it's like I am that ill patient, that incapable patient. So I felt incapable. I felt like I wasn't me and it was starting. But I came back from Iceland. So I started my chemo, my treatment from February all the way to May. So it was only 4 months, which was good. I reacted well.
That's good.
Yeah, it was intense. It knocked me for 6 and I just remember thinking, I don't know how to get out of this. I found chemo so hard. I don't know about you, but...
Yeah. that should be a different episode with just my experiences with chemo, because it could go on for about 3-4 hours. Honestly, it was awful.
Oh, the joys. But for me, the first day was the absolute hardest, and it progressively got easier because I felt like it blasted me.
Yeah.
Like I was in a video game and I was a character and I was just being chucked the other direction.
Well, really, I mean, it's just toxic, isn't it? Being entered into your body, and your body's never experienced this before.
Yeah.
And it's got to learn to deal with it, and I think it does adapt to it later.
Yeah.
But yeah,
You
the first
expect it,
few
don't
times.
Yeah, and also they give you the hardest, most intense treatment at the start to try and blast it. And then I found, so February and March was like that, and then April, May was kind of keeping it at bay. So they've got rid of it, and now they're just trying to sustain it. So February to May was a tough time, and I remember my mock exams were in February, and that was the last thing I could think about. But I carried on going to school from February to May, to sixth form, and went in, tried to do my mocks, but I'd started my chemo and found it really tough, so I was on morphine.
Okay.
And I laugh about it now, but at the time I was like, ah! Like, I looked at my mock and it was geography, and I sat there and she was like, you may open the paper. And usually I'm like, bang, 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 done, 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 next page. I opened the paper, someone started tapping their foot, and I was like, like the morphine just made me so like, I could hear the little things as if it was like screeching in my ear, and then someone else is like playing with their pen, and I'm like, I can't concentrate. And the morphine just made everything intense, like over.
Probably felt so crazy.
Oh my god, I was sitting there and then I started to panic. Oh god, I've got 2 less minutes because I've just been staring at that pen for 2 minutes. The noise, I had enough. And then when I actually looked at the page, I just had to like blink, and the words were jumping out. They were like, one was up here, one was down here. There was fuzzy, they were moving, and I was just like, oh god, oh my god, I can't even read the question.
Yeah.
And there are people that's writing their essays, flicking, you know, writing the next bit. Yeah.
Screw you guys.
And I was just like, do something. Oh god, I can't even read it. And I just panicked and was like, oh my god, my plan to like sustain school, smash A-levels is just not going to happen right now. It's not going to happen. I'm sitting here and I'm struggling, and I'm putting myself in such an area that I can't do. Like, I'm making myself weak and weaker. And I remember I just looked at Miss and was like, I can't do this, can I leave? And she was just like, because like, you know, people know by then. And then they left. Then I left the room. But as for returning to school, I think that was a very tough thing. And again, we could talk about that for another episode, 3 hours, whatever it may be. But for the start, the 2 weeks starting, it hit my body hard, but I didn't change physically. I was still healthy weight, long dark hair, wasn't active anymore and wasn't energised, but I physically didn't look that different. Probably looked a bit ill, a bit peaky, you know. And then I remember I put my hair up into a bun. Within 2 weeks, I'd just touch my hair and it would all molt on my hand.
Oh no.
And I was just like, it's happening. So I went to school, didn't take my hair out, even from the ponytail or the bun that it was in, went there, and I remember throughout the day seeing my shoulder and then I've got like hairs on there, and I was like, like I'm in school, I'm not in my bedroom, and it's kind of fine, I can brush it off, and like, you understand, no one knows yet, I'm still concealing it.
And you just want, at that moment when you see that begin to fall out, you just want to break down and cry. It's just the worst feeling in the world.
Yeah, I was just weak inside, but I was putting up a facade that, you know, this is me, it's normal, yeah, so what's happening at the weekend? And And then I'd go home, and I remember saying to my mum, I think this was the Monday, right, Friday or Saturday, in the evening I'll go to my auntie's who's the nurse, and she'll shave it off for me. And Tuesday I took my hair out to just put in another ponytail, and as I took it out, it all came out on the bobble as well.
Oh,
and I was like, oh god, oh my god, oh my god.
Yeah.
And then so I just kind of like put it away, like I put it in the bin, and then just put my hair straight back up again and was like, I'm not going to touch it. And then like Wednesday, it was still in that ponytail, and it was like coming out my ponytail, or my bun that it was thinning.
Did people kind of realise then? Not realise, but did you ever get looked at, or did people
I don't
pull
think
that
so.
up with you?
I don't think so, because I covered it well, and I kept my hair in like a bun, and it but it was coming out thick and fast. And by the Wednesday, I knew I wasn't gonna make it to the weekend. I would have had like patches everywhere coming out. And Thursday I went to school because I couldn't get shaved before school. It would have been too early and just too much. And I just thought, oh my god, like right now I'm sitting in class and all you're thinking about is what she's teaching, and all you're thinking about is probably at the weekend or what you've been up to. I'm thinking about how the hell is my hair going to be still here on my head at the end of the day. And it was in the bun, and I went straight after school, went to my auntie's, and we took it out of the bun, and it all literally came off the hair bubble.
Oh, really?
And like in terms of the clump, but I still had like, my head was covered, but it was long before. I did get it cut before it fell out and donated it, which was great, but it was still a massive shock. Yeah. And I got it shaved off, and I remember just being there like completely straight faced, and I think that was the start of my straight faced shell like me. Yeah. What my friends can say of that time is that I didn't show any emotion. I was completely private, cried in my room, opened the door, fine, but I was empty. It was like straight faced me. I can't reveal anything, because if I start, it's just not going to stop, and I'll crack and it'll be the end of me. And I remember I got my hair shaved off at my auntie's house, and everyone was really strong, but I knew it was because they were looking at me and thinking, Beth's not crying, we can't cry. Yeah. And it was difficult. Like, they were really amazing to me, and I had a lot of support from my family cutting that off, because my hair was a big part of me. It was long, and that was me. It always has been me. I remember looking in the mirror and thinking, I look like one of them now. I look like a cancer patient now. How? This is me. This is Beth. I'm 17. Like, I've got netball training tomorrow. How have I gone from that to this so fast? The decline, the rapid decline, is what scared me too, because I'm trying to carry on my normal routine, but it's falling apart.
Yeah, you begin to realise, and it becomes so frustrating that, you know, the things you used to do, it's weird. One day you go doing it, and you know, you might be going to netball, you might be going to school, and the next day you're too sick to do it, and it's just ridiculous how fast.
And you can't control it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the hardest part, I think.
Yeah, and so it all came off, and I just saw my thick black hair on the floor, and was just like, oh god. But I just was like, okay, fine, it's got to be done. And I know, obviously, the best thing to do is shave it off. Yeah. And completely, I agree. I feel like cancer survivors now would be like, right, it's off, got to get rid of it. It's just easier. This is what's happening. But at the time, I hadn't even admitted it to myself yet, let alone people around me. And I remember my head was over the bath, and I was just washing it all off, and it was just shaved, and I was just thought, oh my god, I can't even look at myself. I can't even do this. And that all happened, and then the return to school. So did you go to school the next morning? Yeah. So
did you tell your friends at that point?
Yeah, so I got a wig and some hats, and I told my friend stupidly over the phone like a week before, because I wanted to tell her. I got to an evening where I was like, right, it's all happening now. Yeah. I'm going to have to tell her now. And I rang her up and was like, where are you? And she was at her friend's house, I think. Or she was on a uni visit. And I could just easily talk to her. And let's wait for it to move. Cool. Yeah, she was on a uni visit, and I couldn't easily. Dad? No. We're recording, so can you be quiet, please? Sorry. So just like shut the door and do your thing, because otherwise it picks it all up. Right, that's cool. So She was on a uni visit, so I couldn't easily get in touch with her. So I just rang her and was like, look, I'm going to have to tell you because I feel like even a day or two is going to make the situation so much worse, and I need to just tell you now. And I can't remember how I said it. I was just not even here. I said like about having cancer or whatever. She was like, okay, right, okay, bye. And she just went. And I know because she is an expressive person. Yeah. She just needed to go and like absolutely cry, and then she rang back an hour later and we could talk about it a bit more. But I couldn't even talk about it. But I just, oh God, like it was just rough. And going back to school, I thought, okay, I can't conceal it anymore. And it was horrible. Horrible.
I mean, I really can't imagine. I think that would be my biggest nightmare, just going into school one day looking like your normal self, and then the next day you're completely different. No one else knows what's going on.
Yeah.
Everyone's wondering. People probably stare at you. People probably ask you questions. I don't know how you did it. I really don't know how you did it.
The thing is, everyone, well, the majority of people are nice.
That's good.
But it's like, I walk in and I know people don't know how to react because it's not touched everyone's lives, and that's fine. It didn't touch me before, so I don't know how I would have reacted as an outsider. But I walked in, I put this wig on, and I felt like my brain was being squeezed into mush because of how tight it was on my temples. And I put it on and it was so uncomfortable. It was like a hairnet underneath, and it was tight and like scratchy, and I felt like this hair just looked stupid. I felt like I was on stage being some kind of character. It wasn't me. Like it was glossy and just not the one. And I went in to form and I literally walked in, sat down, and I was just trying to be like normal.
So did people pick up that you were wearing a wig?
Well, it was like, Beth, you've had your hair done. Oh, it's a bit different. I can't put my finger on it. I think is it coloured or is it cut? And I was like, yeah, it's...
They're both.
But I was trying to like really be like, yeah, it's great. Let's not talk about it. Yeah, thanks. And I know it was like they probably genuinely didn't know at that point.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, yeah, it's something different, you know, like... And I was just like, please
just shut up.
Yeah, not now.
Yeah.
Because like I was just like getting to grips with it myself. I'm so uncomfortable here. I don't want to be in class, but I just got to do it, you know. And and there was a few like, oh, like people were looking over at me across the table like, oh.
Who is this girl?
Yeah, and I was just like, oh God, like no one's ever paid this much attention to my old hair. If only I would have done that. But so I sat there, and then I wore my wig quite a lot. And I remember it was approaching the Easter holiday, so it was like March time. So this was the second month of chemo. I was wearing my wig every day to school.
Did people know at that point, or?
Not really. But I started gaining weight. Okay. I went white and pale, so this was from the steroids. The wig was getting a bit more obvious, and I was showing effects to it. So I remember I was studying in like just the spare room things on hour free, and I fell asleep on the desk.
Yeah.
And it was like just the wear and tear. I just was falling apart, and I went home, and the school knew because we came into the school and told them so they could be a bit understanding, because I was gaining weight at such a rapid rate. I wasn't even fitting into my uniform. Yeah. And I was still eating the same. It was the treatment.
Steroids are an absolute
nightmare.
Yeah. There are better words to describe it, but I'm not going to name it.
At 6 p.m. on a Monday night.
Yeah, exactly.
So I knew cracks were appearing. And I remember just saying, right, let's make it to the half term, which is next week. I've got 2 weeks. I should be intensely revising. Everyone was talking in school, oh my God, we've got 2 weeks to revise intensely. We come back and it's starting exams and revision. I'm so unprepared. And I'm sitting there like, you don't know, but I have to fight cancer. And that's not a bad thing for them at all. I would have been exactly the same.
Yeah, exactly.
I would have been exactly the same. But it's perspective.
Yeah.
I remember sitting there and thinking, I would have been you. I would have complained about the amount of revision I've got to do every 2 weeks. It takes a life-changing event like this to take you out of who you are, to take you out as that 17-year-old and shake you up and think, what matters? What really matters? Yeah, I've got to revise, but I've got to live each day. I've got to hopefully wake up in the morning and deal with losing my hair, putting on 3 stone in just over a month, even without even changing my diet. I've got to deal with pain, the screaming through the nights because my joints feel like they're on fire. You know, these things. And I remember just saying, right, okay, I'm not even thinking about revision. Let's make it to a half term and then I can rip this wig off, and then after half term I'm just going to come in with a hat because I've got to do what's comfortable. I can't think of even revising with this wig on, and it's getting hotter, unbearable. I'm in a tight shirt, doesn't really fit anymore, a bodycon skirt. I'm just sitting there like...
It's not a cute look for when you're going through cancer, is it?
No. I'm sweating from like the injections that put you in like an early menopause. I'm sitting there thinking, what the hell am I doing? My body's just like uncomfortable. I'm just awful. I laugh about it now, but it's because it's 3 years down the line and you know the hardships and you did it. But at the time, I sit on my bed, I looked out the window and thought, how are you walking? How are you going to work every day? How? It's mind-blowing because
you kind of forget, don't you, how to live.
Yeah.
You forget all these normal things that you used to do, like waking up.
Yeah.
Yeah, just anything like that. It's ridiculous.
It was rough. And I wrote this little thing. So at the start of treatment, I was very optimistic. I thought, yeah, I'll document it all, you know, I'll see my progression. And then it got so rough that I couldn't even think about lifting up my hand to do it. As you know, with side effects, I deteriorated fast, but was still trying to maintain the lifestyle that I've always had. So it went from, I'm revising 8 till 9, 9 to 10 I'll do economics, 10 to 11 I'll do geography, you know, blah blah, I'll do lit, English lit, and then afternoon I'll go into school, you know, I'll have my treatment later, I'll document it, and then like a week down the line I'm in bed and
you realise all you need to do is sleep.
Yeah. So cycle 1, week of 23rd of Feb. So this is, my treatment was Tuesday the 24th to Saturday the 28th because I think they couldn't get the drugs for the Monday or something like that. So day 1. So my mum made a casserole and I remember looking at it and wanting to throw up, but no one could get it. Just one day, like 3 hours of drugs knocked me for 6. I couldn't eat, I just wanted to sleep. You probably felt similarly.
Completely.
So I put day 1, felt so tired, falling asleep on the train, nauseous and tired, in brackets, like my brother came round to see how I am, and I couldn't even go downstairs. I just felt so awful. Awful that I couldn't do it, but like mind-blowing that one day of chemo did this to me. So how am I going to do it for 4 months?
Yeah.
Day 2, 3, 4 and 5. I only had 1 hour treatment on each of the days, so it was less than the first day. This made me feel sick as it was through the cannula. Felt lightheaded, no energy, drained. I think part of it was the mental challenge. Because I had tumours in my chest, I had to have a cannula in my hand.
Yeah.
So another thing we'll talk about later on down the line, pardon the pun, is you get a PICC line or something.
Amazing. I love that.
But, you get a PICC line put in, but that goes into like one of your main arteries. I think it's the aorta or something like that. But because that was so close to the tumour, I couldn't do it just for safety and stuff.
Okay.
So I had the cannula in every day for about a month, which was awful. So putting that in every day, my hands were just black and blue, and remember they tried to put it in my arm because they ran out of space, and inside as well, just awful. Got up, had a funny turn, walking slow, fainted. I think that was in the lift after it was just a long day.
It takes a lot out of you.
Yeah, and I did get public transport throughout, which wasn't really advised because being neutropenic when you don't have any white blood cells, and you can't fight infection.
Neutrophils.
Yeah, neutrophils. So you have a lack of immune system, so some little things, bacteria on surfaces, can be quite harmful to you because it will just escalate.
And I feel like as well when you're neutropenic, if you have a cold, that can turn into ammonia. That's how it plans out.
You have to be so careful.
Yeah.
So I said cycle 1, week 2, Tuesday 3rd of March. Quicker, left at 11:30 a.m. So I thought it was going up, but the side effects hit you so much more. Tired, have to take my time. I'm slow, as if I'm elderly. I'm out of breath going up the stairs. This for me was hard because 2 weeks ago I was training and in competitive sport. How has declined this much? I feel like I'm eating a lot from the steroids. I want to just eat snacks. I feel very big and bloated. Weight gain is a massive thing that should be discussed more, and we can discuss it.
See, I think that we will totally discuss it, but I think when you're a cancer patient, it goes one way or the other. You either put on 1,000 stone or you completely decline, and because a lot of cancer patients also have to have the tube up in their nose, don't they? So I feel like you either go one way or the other.
They said that to me. They said,
yeah, me
it's
too.
good that you're putting on weight because you could be the one that loses weight and you'll get all the tubes through your
That's
nose.
what they said to me. They said, I would rather you put on so much weight than to lose it all, because that's what you'll end up having a tube up your nose. And at the time, obviously I didn't want that, but yeah, just not.
But the thing is, I always thought it was like artificial weight. I felt like a cloud. I felt like I could prod myself and I'd lose my finger like I'm prodding a marshmallow.
Yeah.
I felt like it wasn't actual weight, and I still feel like I've got it. Like I hold on to it, and it's not proper weight.
It's not. No, I completely agree. I've got exactly the same.
It's not like fat. It's like podgy, like airy things that you could probably like. I don't know. It's just not.
And it's in the most random places. And for me, the hamster cheeks are a thing.
Oh yeah, it's about moon face. I was just like, oh god, that's me.
That's the one place I don't think I've lost a lot of weight from it, but that is the one place where it's just like, hey, it's still there.
And I wrote here, have I put weight on around my face and my middle? My skin is not good. I felt like everything in my body was out of sync. My body knew, whoa, what's this? Like something's going on. I did have a sore throat when I woke up, and I could feel the lump in my chest. I could feel it when I drank, which at the time I probably thought I was overthinking, but I do think now looking back I could feel that, because sometimes they say with Hodgkins lymphoma, I remember one woman saying that when she drank alcohol she could feel it in her chest. You can feel the lump in your chest, and when I drank I could feel like there was something there that was restricting my breathing. And when they did scans, they said there was one in my lung or next to my lung that if it got bigger I would have struggled to breathe. So cycle 1, week 3, so this is the following week. I've been feeling okay. I was extremely tired yesterday, but it could have been one of the anti-sickness tablets. Yeah, I had anti-sickness tablets. I think
they are a lifesaver, to be honest.
But then they knock you out. They're drowsy. True. They're drowsy. And I've had a lot of anti-sickness tablets, and it made me just sleepy all the time. And then it just said like loss of hair. And then the last thing I wrote in this diary before I gave up is it's starting.
Aww.
Which is quite significant.
But look where you are now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you have to...
Yeah.
That's a good learning curve. I mean, on days, I feel like when you're feeling low about your life now, look at that, and that is such a game changer. Yeah,
it's true. It's just so significant, though, because it's starting is the last thing I wrote, and it's handwriting as well. So it's just like... I feel like it got to a point where I couldn't write everything down. It just felt like everything was going wrong. That's what I thought, everything was happening. Yeah, so it was tough, but after 2 months of chemo they did a scan and said that it looks all clear, but they're going to do 2 more rounds because they need to do 4, because that was the plan, and they need to blast it. If they stop at 2, it'll most likely come back. So the following 2 months were less intense, so that was good. And I found it easier. Just get comfortable.
Me too, sorry.
That's cool. And I found it easier. So I finished chemo in May. I think it was the middle of May.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was on my granddad's 80th birthday. And they said I was in remission on that day as well.
Oh, such a nice birthday present to your granddad. That's so cute.
It was his 80th, so that was really nice. And I remember I went to his 80th birthday party and everyone was like,
oh my god, I bet that was a massive celebration. Get the drinks in, guys.
Yeah, but it was a week before my exam, so it was intense. So throughout chemo I was revising a lot. So the typical day would be, if I didn't have chemo, it would be school, like sixth form all day, and then just come back, revise, work, go to bed at like 10, and then start. So I was knackered. I needed more sleep and more rest, and I didn't give myself that. But I would say other than that, the days were, say, chemo in the morning, so 9 till midday, get the train back from London. Shouldn't have gone on public transport really, but it seemed convenient, it seemed good. And then go to school, go to sixth form for 1 till the end of sixth form, and then like stay there and do work after, then come back, revise in bed. So it was kind of like it was either school in the morning, treatment in the afternoon, or vice versa. So had exams a week after I was in remission. That was intense, and I did revise from hospital, like when I was in bed having my chemo at the same time. So usually I would just be in school in the afternoon or just in the morning, but I would be doing my lessons whilst I'm in hospital and revising and doing my notes and stuff. And it was stressful because I thought, oh my god, I've been doing it whilst I'm having chemo, but I haven't been able to solely focus on it.
Yeah.
And I feel a bit nervous because I didn't do my mocks, and I'm going to try my best. And I feel like I had prepared under the circumstances, but when other people talk about it, I just stress because they've been focusing on this since September and only this, and been working, whereas I've been so split, and it's been complex. So I only had a week really to only focus on that with no other thoughts, but I still did have my thoughts because it hasn't gone just because you've just finished chemo. And this is what we'll talk about. I think the importance of finishing chemo and it not being okay, it not bouncing back.
It's not.
It's fine, and it happens to
everyone.
Yeah. So I did my exams, and I remember sitting in my exams and thinking, well, what will be will be. No one expects anything of me, and at least I'm here. And this isn't really the priority right now. I want to do well, and I'll be gutted if I don't, because I know without this chemo and cancer it could have been different, but is what it is.
There's more to life than... I know it's important to you, but there's more to life than grades. Yeah. There's like a life involved here.
Oh, there is. But when you're at school and when you're at uni, it's like that's everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Your self-worth is based on your grade, your mark. And it's only now leaving uni that you can have a bit of perspective. But at the time I thought that was everything, and that was my plan for the next 3 years. So I just did it, made the best of it, focused on the next one. And it was rubbish because I couldn't have any time to focus on myself. It was one thing after another, and I thought I was going to work myself into the ground.
Yeah.
But I did it, and then after I was like, but not fully. Because I've done it, but I haven't got the results really from either. Like, although I'm in remission, still kind of hanging. Done my exams, don't know how they've gone, so I'm still kind of hanging.
Early days for both, isn't it? You just never know how it's going to pan out.
Yeah, and also everyone was finished with exams, and it's the summer just before uni, and everyone's going out and just living their life, and I'm sitting here like struggling, can barely walk, joint movements hard, weight gains made me feel like I just want to put a bag over my head. And like I'm not myself. Like I've done it all, and the mania's gone, and now I'm left here dealing with the repercussions, having to face things that I've kind of pushed to the side. Mentally I've always been a repressor, but I just buried it and was like, I'll be fine. And yeah, that summer I just kind of just sat there and was just like, okay, this is what's left of me now. Like it's not all done. I'm not happy with myself, and I'm not going to bounce back, and this is going to be tough. Starting uni was tough, but this is a whole different topic. And I would say the whole thing closed, like the door shut, and it was a chapter gone when results day came, and I got the slip through and got my grades through, and they were beyond anything that my targets would have said or anything that I would have expected. My parents just wanted me to sit the exams, maybe get a C, and they don't define your self-worth, not at all. They're not everything, but at the time that just would have completed everything, been the cherry on top, and would have actually made me happy for the first time. Because although like family and friends say, wow, amazing, you've done chemo, you should be so proud, it's like, well, no, because there's that one important thing that I've always wanted to do and accomplish that's still not done.
Yeah.
And that just shocked me, and everything came out. I remember just results day crying with happiness.
Oh, go on, brag about it. Tell them what you got.
No.
What did you get? Come on then. No, come on. It's amazing. I want to know still. I want to know again. I know what it is, but tell me.
Well, I resat English AS as well, so 1 A star and 3 A's.
While she was going through chemo, I mean, what the hell? How are you a human being? Who does that?
No, we all like. It's just how we balance our time. And
yeah, that's true.
But I was happy because I feel like the machine in me made me do these things. Like made me. Before I would have been so fine with kind of like 80%, not 90 or 98 yet. the machine in me that was like ruthless. I'm gonna do cancer. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
Just made me be like, I'm gonna do it. But it's also the perspective. I think the perspective that came with getting cancer at 17 means that exams matter, but you matter more. And whatever I would have got, I sat in that exam room and was like, this isn't everything. If I failed my exams, but I did and succeeded and got over cancer, then I'm alive. Just to kind of draw back to it, it was all wrapped up, I think, on results day, and I think that was so significant for me. But as we've said before, the end isn't the end of chemo, and I think that is a perception that's out there, and that's fine, because as I said, I don't know how I would have reacted if someone came to me and said that they were going through cancer. But I think there was a pressure, but mainly a pressure from myself, because I thought the end of chemo, oh great, it's done, starting uni in September, and that's what I did. But it's not really like that, and it does take time. But that was it really, that was my journey. I was in remission. I've now been in remission 3.5 years.
Amazing, well done.
Yeah, and it all kind of feels like a distant memory, but talking about it, flashes do come back. It's, I don't know about you, but it's smells and sensations that also remind me of...
Yeah, and for me there's like certain foods that remind me of chemo, so now I can't have the foods anymore. I can't eat.
What's your food?
So there was this chemo that I had that was deadly. It was like 4 hours, and it just made me sick every time. It was the one chemo that made me feel awful. And the time that I was having it, one day I had 20 chicken nuggets from McDonald's. So it's not really a bad thing that I can't eat those anymore. I can still eat the chicken nuggets from McDonald's, but it can't be in a 20 nugget box.
That's so interesting.
It's strange, isn't it? Yeah.
That shows mentality, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Mine is meal deal, but a sandwich.
From Tesco's or Sainsbury's?
It was always from Tesco's, but I haven't eaten a sandwich since.
Okay.
No. If I have a meal deal now, it'll be a pasta or a wrap or something like that. But I remember my mum used to always come back with a meal deal whilst having chemo. And I was just like, this is the last thing I want right now. And did you have the jacket potatoes that they'd made in hospital? They were like bricks, weren't they? Oh my god.
Either like just cheese, no butter or anything.
Yeah.
It was just,
And you'd carve into the potato and you could make like a monument because it was so hard. Yeah.
Or did you ever have the sandwiches that they brought out?
Whenever it was like brown bread.
Yeah.
It was like hard and there was just... But yeah, so... Now we can both kind of, I feel like we can reflect on these things. It's 3.5 years down the line. Things change. Mentality changes again. Like after that, I thought that I knew it all. I thought, I've done it. It can't get worse. Nothing more can happen. And I wouldn't say it's got worse, but you just have different mentality perspectives and you handle different things. So during chemo is completely different to after chemo. Still a challenge, but of a different kind. So that's me. I'm hopefully all good, you know, and
fingers crossed.
I just now reflect, and it's a big thing, and that's what's happened.
Yeah, so thank you for sharing your story with us.
Thanks very much.
It's been interesting. It is the complete opposite to what I went through in my journey, so it's interesting to learn different people's stories, and I'm sure there's so many people that can relate to you and have had your illness or are going through the illness that you had, and I'm sure their story is completely different to yours as well, so it's interesting. At least they know that there's someone else out there that has had exactly the same thing.
So many people. And I feel like, although I've spoken a lot, it's still bits and pieces. You know, there's so many bits you just remember that we'll talk about, and I'll think, oh yeah, that as well. And there's so many bits you gloss over. But that's because you're talking about it for the first time in a long time. And the bits that you kind of chose to forget and the bits that sink into the background don't come out in the first time you have a conversation. It takes time for these things, for these memories to come to the forefront again. But thank you for listening.
So we have come to the end of the first part of the diagnosis with part one. We've heard all about Beth's story. We hope you have enjoyed it and it's been insightful. But before we go, we did a little Q&A over social media and we wanted you to ask us questions about our diagnosis experience. And we've actually had a few responses, so we're really grateful. Thank you for contributing.
Thank you very much.
And we're going to answer them now. So, am I going first?
Yeah, go on. Fire away.
So on Twitter, we were given a question that was, how was you diagnosed and did you go to the GP? Now...
Well, yeah, so I've obviously spoken about my background, the context, the story. So as you know, I went to my doctor, but only with one symptom. So I wasn't necessarily the normal on paper diagnosis because I didn't have every symptom and kind of evidence, but the scans obviously showed otherwise. So
Yeah.
yes, I did follow the typical kind of doctor's route. But again, I think you know your body. I don't think you have to have a doctor to confirm it. Sometimes you kind of know yourself inside, don't you?
Yeah, totally.
What about you, Leanne?
This is going to be so funny. Okay, this is going to be so much editing.
Yeah, it is.
So I actually have a completely different story. I did not go to my GP, but that was because we wasn't able to get an emergency appointment. Yeah, it was a little bit of a struggle. So you will hear all about that in the next episode or
Yes.
part 2.
Yes, part 2 where I will be interrogating Leanne.
Amazing. I can just imagine the spotlight on me already.
Yeah, so this one was mostly focused on my story and the next one will be on yours. So
Yeah.
it'll be different, completely different because
Completely.
different experiences.
I hope you guys will have a cup of tea and you've got 10 years to spare because believe me, it is a long one.
Not too long though, it's great.
Yeah.
So I had some questions on Instagram. First one, what was the first thing that went through your mind when you were diagnosed?
Honestly, for me, I just blacked out and you'll find out more, but I kind of buried myself in a pillow and figured that I was in this horrible dream and that I was going to wake up, and I kind of was being really harsh on myself, thinking, why the hell are you dreaming this? Like, this isn't funny. Wake up, Leanne. It's not a good dream to have. And then I opened my eyes and I was awake and I just didn't know. I don't know what my thoughts were. I really don't. Like, I just remember that I tried to avoid every possible like way that I could of feelings.
It's just denial and
Yeah,
being
complete
overwhelmed.
denial.
Yeah.
What about you?
I obviously felt similarly, as you know, and the first thought was my A-levels. But it was just like the fact that life will be turned upside down and what is going to happen, scared, overwhelmed, in denial. So we've got another question. One question is about emotional support. When you were first diagnosed, did you seek out emotional support? How much was there for you? Was this later on down the line?
That's actually a really difficult one because the first thing I tried, I mean, I was transferred to a hospital that had that was specialised in like treating teenagers that had cancer. So there was so much support given to me in that sense. There was loads of hospital support. You know, it was all offered. But in terms of actually seeking it out myself, like I said, I was in denial. So I didn't feel like I needed it, even though I did. I didn't feel like I needed it. I tried to do everything possible to not go on the internet to Google support or even the word cancer. Yeah, I just completely avoided it myself. But yeah, there was a lot of support in terms of the charities and hospitals and stuff like that.
Yeah, there is it is out there if you need it and seek it, and they can't help enough. For me, I felt like I didn't have time. I felt like, not right now, maybe after in the summer. Also, as soon as I seek emotional support, I'm going to open up, I'm going to crack, and I don't have time for it. I need to be revising, I need to be going to school, I need to be having cancer treatment. I've just got too much on my plate. but I think it's important to deal with it as you're going through it. Otherwise you can repress and you can feel the effects after and later on down the line. So it is there. I didn't experience too much through the hospital, but I know that if I did voice that, then they would have tried to help.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I think it depends on you, what you wish for.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question we've got is about priorities. So what was your priority during chemo?
Yeah, for me, it was getting better. I prioritised myself. And I know that sounds really selfish, but...
You have to be selfish.
You have to be. Yeah. My priority was me getting better, but also my priorities became clearer regarding like family and how important people around you are. So I prioritised the people that mattered most as well. But yeah, in just general terms, it was me feeling better, doing what my body can do, and just like resting basically. What about you?
I think that I was so focused on doing this, I was going to do it to any extreme at any cost. So I did think that I put myself last in a sense, because for instance, if my body was rejecting the chemo and I needed to sleep for a couple of days, I wasn't going to. I was going to get up and do what I expected of myself before. Because I had a time frame, like the way I looked at it was like, yeah, if I sleep in, that's a day lost. Like the exams don't go back a day as a result. So it was a catch-22. And yeah, it depends on the person. I think that I could have listened to my body more. So my priority was exams because I was so close to them and it felt such a shame to give up. And I know no one would have talked badly of me, but I just couldn't do it. And the second priority was myself and how I felt. But I would like to think that that's obviously shifted. Definitely has shifted now. So
yeah,
it's all to do with the circumstances.
Oh, so thank you so much for everyone that asked those questions. They were actually pretty good questions, I think.
They were. That's the benefit of the Q&A though.
I know, right?
We didn't even think of it. So please keep looking at our updates, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. This is the first episode, so it's about my story. The second episode will be all about Leanne, so fire away some more questions. We'll have some more opportunities to do so. And she'll explain a bit more about herself, her context, and where she has come from on her journey. Yeah. So that will be the second episode. So tune in and have a little listen.
Totally.
Have a little watch. And
you'll be missing out.
There is definitely more to come. This is the start, hopefully, and we would love to hear what you think.
Yeah, completely. So yeah, just engage in the conversation. Join us. We'd like to be a big family.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you next time.
Bye. See you later.